like I said plenty of times before, I don't agree with that lifestyle. I have different beliefs and morals that's on a different standard. I don't agree with that. But at the same time, I will not force anybody to live the lifestyle that I live, and vice versa. I wouldn't want no one to force their opinions and their beliefs and their morals onto myself, because then we're gonna have some problems. Thank you for watching Power to the Pod, where we're committed to an intellectual integrity and a moral honesty. I'm your host, Superior, and once again, thank you for watching. Now, in this video, we're going to talk about the transgender suspect that killed 6 people. 3 of them were 9-year-olds, and 3 of them were teachers. And just the interesting conversation that is surrounding this travesty, and it's not the unfortunately the conversation is not progressing towards solutions. Is of course progressing towards political rhetoric, political just nonsense, and it seems like that's where the conversation is going towards, and it's going to just die there until the situation pulls up once again. So we're gonna watch The Hill with Brianna Joy Gray and Robbie Soul. I'm not gonna even try to pronounce his last name, but let's go ahead and watch this video and let's have this conversation.
Obviously, another tragedy unfolding before us, so we want to talk about that.
As 3 children and 3 adults were shot and killed yesterday in a Nashville grade school. The suspect, 28-year-old Audrey Hale, was also shot and killed by the police. Hale is transgender and a former student of the Covenant School, a private Presbyterian school. Police say Hale left a manifesto detailing, quote, resentment for having to go to that school as the reason behind the massacre. Officials have also determined Hale was heavily armed with at least 2 assault rifles and kept detailed plans in preparation for the shooting, including by hand-drawing maps and conducting personal surveillance. So far, police believe Hale shot at random and that no individuals were targeted. Those killed have been identified as Evelyn Dykhouse, Haley Scruggs, and William Kinney, all age 9, Cynthia Peak, age 61, Catherine Coons, age 60, and Mike Hill, age 61.
White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre spoke about the tragedy at the podium yesterday. Let's watch some of that.
In his State of the Union, the president called on Congress to do something to stop the epidemic of gun violence, tearing families apart, tearing communities apart. How many more children have to be murdered before Republicans in Congress will step up and act to pass the assault weapons ban?
Meanwhile, over on CNN this morning, national security analyst Juliette Kayyem encouraged viewers not to be distracted by the shooter's gender identity.
Each of these school shootings has motive and means. Motive goes to the particular person, what's their mental health situation, what happened at the school, why did they choose that target? As Andrew was saying, what clues did they leave behind? What was their community seeing? And then the means. And then that's when you get the connectivity, right? That's when you start to see these are all starting to look the same, right? I sort of think now, like, we don't own guns in this country. Guns own us at this stage. And this is where we have to now focus on an important part of an agenda, which includes mental health, protecting our kids, fortifying schools, but also the connectivity, which is a certain kind of gun. Look, pronouns do not kill children, right? People with guns kill children, and it's going to be a distraction in our coverage and keep us from what we now know.
So, yeah, this in many ways is very similar to debates we've had on this issue so many times. Every time this happens, there's a back and forth.
Okay, so that was just a lot to pull in. Okay, one, she makes a good point. Words do not kill people. Pronouns do not kill people. If someone says that they are she and them, I've never seen anyone drop dead before, or at least I haven't seen it. I'm not saying that it's not possible, but if it's happened, please let me know. People with guns kill people. Guns don't kill people, obviously. It's the people with these bad intentions, obviously, kill guns. And not even a fun fact. It's not even a fun fact, but a fact. We're only 3 months, about to be 4 months. January, February, March, April. Yeah. It's about to be 4 months into the year. And it's already been roughly 150 mass shootings in America, not in the whole world, in America alone in 4 months. Do the math. Like this, like I said at the beginning of this, it feels like it's a conversation that's been happening way too many times and nothing with substance gets done. Except for a lot of videos, a lot of complaining, and that's it. Nothing gets done. But let's go ahead and continue here.
Forth about whether there are individual factors, whether it's mental health, et cetera, that cause this particular individual to abuse their constitutional privilege to have access to a gun, to own a gun, to kill people. In some cases, the person has procured the gun illegally, so they do not have a constitutional access to the gun, in which case people say that it's not really about a gun control issue, it's about an illegal act that wouldn't have been bound by gun restrictions whatsoever. Other people still say that if it's harder to access a gun even illegally because there are more protections or restrictions on gun owners, that it would have prevented the crime, and around we go. But this one has the additional added quirk of being one of the few. I think there's only been 4 ever reported mass shootings that involve someone with a non-traditional gender identity. And there are some conservatives, I would say, that are pointing to that as what caused this incident, to the exclusion of any other factors.
Sure. I mean, we need to know more, obviously. The gender identity, it certainly seems potentially relevant. It is so this is someone who was a biological woman. It is so rare, as you know. It's incredibly rare for mass shootings, violence in general, but it's particularly mass shootings. We talk about the statistics of them. There's a lot of people often try to bring in the racial element, even though it actually does, for mass shooters at least, tracks pretty closely to the overall racial makeup of the population. That is not true of gender. Overwhelmingly, mass shooters are male. So it's so statistical. This is something I want to learn more information about. What was this person's mental health? And obviously, and every time there's a mass shooting or an instance of violence that captures the nation's attention, there is always an effort by people on all sides of the political spectrum and in all corners of the media to try to explain where they're thinking, what led them to do it. What do they have an ideology? Is it identifiably political? Is it that they're just mentally ill? Are they lashing out at coworkers or at a school that they had some connection with? It seems to me that was the case for this shooter, although it was a long time ago. I believe they said she was 28 now, so it's not.
Yeah, and they identify obviously.
Okay, so let me just butt in. My bad, Brianna. Okay, let me just butt in. Okay, so I understand what he's saying. I understand what the young man is saying. It's important to understand the context of these shootings and possibly prevent it. If it's religious belief, if it's just a coworker tripping out, if it's X, Y, and Z. And sometimes race and gender can play a part of it. Just like in this situation, her gender and what the lifestyle she wanted to live played a part. But that, to me, that feels like the surface level conversation. At some point, we need to dig a lot deeper and a lot quicker. We can't continue to drag our feet when it comes to having these conversations, because a mass shooting isn't only possible if a person is mad at kids or just wants to kill kids. A mass shooting can happen anywhere, at malls, at concerts, at schools, at, large gathering events. The common denominator of all these situations is guns. And I'm not talking about the guns that go pew pew. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a gun enthusiast. You know what I'm saying? I do own a gun, but I don't know every single brand or make and model of a gun. But I'm talking about the guns that shoot a lot faster than a pistol. AR-15s, automatic, I don't care what you call it. The guns that can run out of a full magazine within a couple of seconds. Those kind of guns, we need to deal with. And I'm not talking about, once again, I need you to understand what I'm saying. I'm not talking about ban all guns. I'm not talking about taking all guns from everyone, which, I mean, other countries have done it and they haven't had a mass shooting in a long time. So I'm just saying, if you really want to get positive results, sometimes you got to go to the extreme to get those results that you want. But for the sake of this being America and everybody loves American rights, we need to at least put some restrictions on these type of guns that are really made to kill as many things as fast as possible. Those kind of guns. Once again, I'm pretty sure you watching this is not the first time you hearing this, which is a problem. That means Americans is hard of hearing. So to me, come on.
So as a man, but yeah, they were 28 years old, so it was some time since he had been at that school. It's interesting. There's this take. Charlie Kirk, for instance, tweeted, "Instead of banning assault rifles, we should ban gender-affirming care for kids." It's an interesting kind of perspective, given that it seems, from what we know as of right now about their manifesto, that they resented going to a Christian school, presumably more conservative school, that might not have been as open to their transition and their, chosen gender identity. And having a response to that be, you want more kids to feel in that position, more kids to have that tension with their educational environments, is an odd one for me. I don't know. What do you make of that instinct to say, well, we have to put more kids in the scenario that the shooter was in, whereas they were wanting to present a certain way and wanting to live their lives a certain way, and their school environment presumably didn't allow them to, breeding that kind of resentment.
Right. I mean,
Okay, so I already know, once again, the young man's not going to resent anything that idiot said. Charlie Kirk, Charlie, whatever his name is. In the past couple of years, and what's his name, Matt Walsh, was on Joe Rogan, and he said millions of kids are being given these drugs and they're switching and they're puberty blockers and this and this and this. And he pulled it up and it was less than 4,000 within the past 5 years. So you would rather ban these drugs that is given out to less than 1%, less than I don't know the math. I didn't do the math, but I know it's less than 1% of kids in America from their parents. It's not like they could just go to the corner store and purchase these. So it's a lot more scrutiny and a lot more hurdles you have to jump over to get these medications. You would rather put a ban on that instead of assault rifles, which I'm pretty sure I got some money. I could probably get one today. I might just do a video of that one day. I could get one today with little to no problem. It might take me a couple of days, but I could get me one. I could purchase one. You don't see an issue with that. Someone done lost their mind, and just like the person who in this mass shooting, some of these guns were purchased legally, and these are guns that were made to kill as much as possible, as quick as possible. You don't see a problem with that, Kirk Carls, whatever your name is. I promise you, these people.
I want a young person to have the educational experience that best aligns with their values and their family's values and is best for them. I think that's going to be different for a variety of kids. So no, I don't want to force one way or the other on young people. And we don't know in this case whether it's this person lashing out at an unaccepting kind of environment, or whether this person has deeper mental health problems, eventually did get whatever kind of affirming or supportive care, but has a kind of mental health problem or some other problem. We don't know. And at the end of the day, it's horrible and tragic regardless, because there's no amount of nothing this person went through or endured comes close to justifying their behavior, their violence against their murder of a half a dozen people, including 3 9-year-olds.
Yeah.
It's truly sickening, truly sickening. In so many cases, previously we've known that the individual was actually known to law enforcement. So far, I've not seen anything indicating that that might be the case. As you said, sometimes it's a case where the person, right, they obtain the guns legally, but given there should have been more the law actually requires better vetting, and they shouldn't have been able to get the gun. We don't know if that's the case here. I also want to point out, because we've been very critical of law enforcement in some like Uvalde, where they stood around for forever as kids were dying. In this case, law enforcement, I think within 14 minutes of the shooting beginning, arrived on the scene. They came under fire. The shooter fired at them through windows, was shattering windows. I've seen some of the footage. They engaged the shooter. They did not hold back, wait for reinforcements, wait till it was safe. They charged the shooter, and they killed this individual. And it was 14 minutes from beginning to end, and undoubtedly saved more lives. So hopefully, when Columbine happened and the police waited outside forever, and we were supposed to learn from that. Police don't do, and it's in their training materials, don't wait, go in. Maybe find that has sunk into enough police departments.
Yeah, well, they have got.
All right, let's go ahead. So once again, in another interesting conversation, if we cannot live, if it's possible to live in an environment to where we're not consistently trying to force people to live the way that we feel is correct to live. Like I said plenty of times before, I don't agree with that lifestyle. I have different beliefs and morals that's on a different standard. I don't agree with that. But at the same time, I will not force anybody to live the lifestyle that I live, and vice versa. I wouldn't want no one to force their opinions and their beliefs and their morals onto myself, because then we're going to have some problems. And that's all that it is. If we continue to try to force people to conform in a way that we feel is correct, it's going to be pushback, no matter what the topic is. Like you can't even have a pandemic go on and say, hey guys, everyone's going to be getting sick. We whipped up something that might be able to help. We just need people to take it. We can't even agree on that. It's going to be pushback no matter what. So why do you think that if we continue to marginalize and scrutinize and demonize and attack people for the lifestyle they want to live, and try to make laws and legislation that will conform them to live the way that you feel is correct to live, why be surprised that you're going to get some retaliation? Same thing, if you try to force your doctrine on me and your beliefs on me and your morals and your opinions on myself and my family, we're going to have some problems. Just like an old philosopher back in the day said, I believe it was Lil Jon. He said, don't start none, won't be none. That's simple. But once again, if I'm incorrect, let me know down in the comments and let's have this conversation.
Thank you for listening, and don't forget to join the conversation by subscribing. Make sure to tune in next time, and like always, power to you, power to me, power to the people, power to the pod.